Hello and welcome to Inside News. I'm Dale Matthews. Here's Mike Jones and Vika Nikodian. Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening, Dale.
Hey, good evening.
So, we were going to do a show this evening welcoming people back that were out on vacation and talk about some of the fireworks that happened while they were gone. And then today's show got all put aside because of news regarding this guy, which is Joseph Rice and Oath Keepers. And that's why we have Vika Nikodian on the show tonight. I'm going to do just a slight little lead-in. The only other time that Mike and I have had a situation similar to this is when we had heard a lot about, over a period of time, about Simon Hare and some of the people that he ran into in bars. And they were saying some things about him, and I said, are you going to go on the record? Will you come up to the weekly business session? Will you step forward and say what happened to you? And nobody wanted to, until Doug Deakins. And Doug Deakins stood up at a weekly business session and he said, here's what happened to me. Here's what happened with my phones. Here's what happened with my wife. Here's what happened with my daughter and her girlfriend. And when he first stood up, who knows who's right? I mean, is one guy right or another guy right? And there were a lot of people who did not want to believe that a commissioner could do anything like that. And some people still don't believe it, okay? But Doug Deakins, once he started talking, you became more and more convinced, hey, this guy seems believable. So what we did in tonight's story, and this won't be the last time we discuss this, is we invited anyone that had something substantive to say about this story, which we're going to tell you about, and the first person to accept our invitation was Vika Nikodian. And we also invited, just so that you know, this guy right here, Joseph Rice, his public information officer for Oath Keepers. Anyone involved with Oath Keepers at all that knows the details, some of the other people that are involved with the story. And so, Mike, do you want to tell them what happened? And then we're going to let Vika speak. What did we find out today that was new to us?
Well, we essentially were part of somebody's email media blitz, and we received the link to this website, which contains affidavits of a bunch of people discussing their experiences with the Oath Keepers and the recent Sugar Pine Mine security operation, and it goes deeper into detail on other things that Joseph Rice has been involved with previous to this, and because we don't have any of those people on tonight, and Vikan's affidavit is basically a full show. It's appropriate to begin there, but I do have the website here. This is the principledpatriot.com. And if you want to read about this yourself, there's plenty enough to keep you busy for quite a long time on this website. And this, we report, you decide here. This is going to be out there. You're going to be seeing a lot of this anyway. This is just us telling you, and you go through and read through, and you can find out whether it's credible or not. And
it's called theprincipledpatriot.com. Mike and I are going to make it clear, as we've said to Vika, as we've said to Joseph Rice and everybody else involved with this story, we cannot take a side on this story because, honestly, we don't know who's telling us all the truth. You're going to get a chance to decide that in the court of public opinion. All we can do is offer open access to both sides, or all 9 sides, or whatever there are to this story. Let them have their say. We will be fair to everybody, and Vika is the one who stood up and said, okay, I'll come on the show. So Vika, tell us what's going on here, bud. Start from the beginning, or tell us about your affidavit, please. Just stick with that, and we're just going to encourage you to tell us what you know and we'll save speculation for another time, okay?
Okay, okay. I just want to just introduce this by saying, I am an oath keeper, and so are a great many other people who joined the organization. But we were oath keepers before we ever joined the organization, and it's a matter of us believing in certain principles that the organization is supposed to stand for, and the people involved are supposed to stand for. And this is why we joined. And this shirt and joining the club, that's not what makes a person an oath keeper. It's upholding the principles of upholding our oath to the Constitution and our sacred honor. So, this is why I joined the organization and why I decided to help out. I became the webmaster for the group and was a software developer, and I jumped in both feet with the sugar pine mine operation to help out because there were a couple of miners out there who were being threatened. And I and a lot of other people gave a lot. We sacrificed a lot to help out with that, with defending those miners, their property rights that were being threatened, their right to due process, which means that both parties, they and the BLM who are allegedly threatening them, get to be heard at the same time and present their evidence. I'm sure you'll all recognize that's what due process actually means. And that's what we were there to defend, their rights to have due process and be able to defend themselves.
And so you're not making any suggestion at all that there is any impropriety having to do with, I mean, there was nothing improper about the Oath Keepers stepping in and trying to help safeguard the rights of these miners.
Not that I saw. The very best of the information I saw, they were genuinely under threat, and they were asking for help. And there was, according to the information I saw, a history of the BLM doing certain things to miners, burning down cabins or whatever. There was quite a story there. And I personally spoke with other miners who came out to the staging area to tell their own stories. Once we started the operation, more and more miners came forward, different people who had been run off their property or had things happen. And of course, we were only getting that part of the story. It would be interesting to hear the BLM side as well. That's due process. But what they had to say was pretty horrifying. And, I shot videos for the Oath Keepers. I prepared the videos and put them online. And there are actually quite a few videos that didn't make it online that are probably worth seeing as well.
Just so that you know, this still that you see over my shoulder here was shot by Viken, and it's of Joseph Rice making a speech at the area where they would get together and then go out to the mine together. So this is Viken's video here. Viken, talk to us a little bit about the affidavit that you filled out and some of the things that are in that, would you please?
So I ended up resigning from the Oath Keepers as well as the Josephine County chapter, as did a few other people, over certain events that were occurring. So if you want, we'll just walk through the affidavit. Here we go. Because, I needed to document the reasons I had resigned and the things that I saw happening that I thought were problematic. So, item number one, and this is on that website apparently. So item number one.
Indeed it is.
I'm a software developer, and last December, our chapter here, the Josephine County chapter, Joseph was saying, we need to find a way to raise money. We need to raise money, and there was an attempt at getting, I believe, some of the stores in town to donate goods that could be resold, for a markup or whatever, but that didn't go through. So I stepped up and said, all right, I will help you guys out. I'm working on this software project, and it's basically an emergency response system. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I have a working, part of it's already up and running. I've done some work on it. I have a patent filed a couple years back, and I and a couple of other people are on this patent, and that's important. And so I stepped up and said, look, guys, this project is going to probably get very big. And in the interest of getting it developed very quickly, and also to raise money for Oath Keepers in the local chapter, I will share it with you guys. I'll step in and let's do a little fundraising through Oath Keepers National. All we need is a couple hundred people to donate $50, and I'll be able to just sit down and hammer this out, and it'll generate revenue. And I will share this with Oath Keepers National and the chapter. Hey, we'll have money. And like Joseph and Bruce McFarland, his second in command, were like, "Wow, that's a great idea." And one of the guys, stepped up right then and there. Jim, he walked up and handed me a $50 bill. He says, "All right, let's make this happen." There's a lot of enthusiasm. So Joseph committed to putting me in touch with Oath Keepers National to, make the presentation, to explain to Stuart Rhodes and the others the benefits of this project, and to get it rolling. And so that's the first thing there. I'm the primary inventor and patent applicant of Rescue Responder, and I'm also the creator of the website. I put a lot of work into developing this website and making sure it was secure, unlike WordPress. Real software developers know that WordPress gets hacked a lot, and even the Oath Keepers National site kept getting hacked. So I develop websites, and I make sure that they don't get hacked. So this is what my first paragraph is about here. And so Oath Keepers, the local Oath Keepers chapter, I created this system for their use, to make sure that we would have a website that was stable, secure, and actually worked really well on mobile phones, which that's a particular talent that,
Yes.
it's an important talent to have these days. Google requires it, in fact. If you're going to have a website, it's got to be mobile ready. So, moving right along, we're going to be naming names here, which makes me unhappy because I had really hoped to keep these issues quiet. In fact, my initial emails to Joseph Rice and Bruce and the others were say, look, I just want to have a small, quiet discussion, you, me, Stuart Rhodes, and a couple other people who are directly involved in the problems here, so we can have a discussion and find out what the truth of the matter. And anyway, because that Joseph refused to let that happen, and you guys will get full access to those emails because Joseph said you could in writing. This item number 2 is, I had worked with Bruce McFarland a couple years back. Was it 2014? That was last year, on a project which was paid for by the taxpayers of Josephine County, and this was a project that I don't want to talk about all the other people who were involved in it, but it was essentially to help people develop life skills so they wouldn't end up going down a wrong path, ending up behind bars, using drugs, whatever. And great, I again created a very highly customized mobile-ready website, and it was pretty good, I thought. So, unfortunately, there's a domain out there called itstheclimate.com. It's also our city's motto, right? It's the climate. Well, Bruce McFarland owns that, and he was looking to sell email hosting services. And he had taken a copy of that website that I did for the Love to Grow project and put it up at It's the Climate, changed a few things, a couple of the graphics and the text and stuff to, and put copyright Bruce McFarland or whatever at the bottom. And, and I thought that was inappropriate. So I sent an email explaining that, and he kind of lashed out at me for that. Did you guys? I don't know if that email's even on that website.
Well, tell us again who Bruce McFarland is. Remind us, please.
Bruce McFarland, he's one of my old buddies actually in town. He's been a friend for a long time. And by the way, I was good friends with Joseph Rice and Bruce McFarland. I trusted these guys enough that I even gave them the combination to my safe. So these are guys who I had a close relationship with, a trusting relationship. So, just so you know this, it's not like we were distant or ever in battle or anything like that. These are guys who I really was trying to work with and help out.
Bruce McFarland was the second in charge of the local Oath Keepers.
Right. He's the assistant coordinator for the local Oath Keepers chapter, the assistant coordinator, and you'll see that come up in a lot of the other affidavits, and there's a lot of discussion about his role there. So anyway, I did finally say, hey, that's inappropriate, to take that website and use it for other stuff. This is, without even asking our group first. You need to ask the group at least. And, he pulled the site down. So I think there's nothing there right now. Moving right along, this affidavit. All right, December 2014, I mentioned the project that I proposed, and let's see, the Oath Keepers members thought it was a great idea, and clearly it would be a good fundraiser because it is a really good project, and I am still working on it, though not full-time, unfortunately, because we didn't get that initial funding through Oath Keepers National, which would have kick-started it, and that would have been great. So, item number 4. on or about April 21st, 2015. No, wait, let's back up just a little bit. Regarding that project, Joseph Rice confirmed to me in his own email that it had been pitched to Oath Keepers National. And I wasn't told of this, and I was not involved in the phone conversation, and apparently there were other people there too. He even gave a list of the people who were in on that call, but I wasn't told that we were going to do this. Obviously, I would have wanted to be involved so I could talk to National about that. I didn't find out about that until sometime later during the Sugar Pine operation, when Bruce called me one night to tell me that he had pitched it to Oath Keepers National himself. And, you know, is that inappropriate? So moving forward here, while at the Sugar Pine mine staging area, something else had happened. A member of the Jackson County Oath Keepers just wandered by and mentioned that he was making a deal with Bruce to obtain a copy of the website I had created for the Josephine County Oath Keepers. I thought, that's weird. You know, but I was working on a video. I couldn't quite get up and chase him down, and then he left. So I thought, that's weird. Why would he be talking to Bruce instead of the webmaster, the guy who actually develops the websites? What's going on there? But you know, Bruce is also unavailable for us that day. I couldn't find him, so I never really got to question him about that and kind of forgot about it. We were very busy. Let's see. I'm going to skip item 5 because that kind of involves another project that, well, actually, no. Joseph Rice's email to me also confirms that this other project was pitched to National and included in the whole big pitch, the money-raising pitch, right? But the fact that Bruce had told me about it, and you know, he'd said that his board of directors had approved it and all that, but a member of his board of directors said no, that conversation never actually happened. So I was becoming more concerned. That was item 5 there. Item 6, this is where things got really interesting. I think it was roughly April 22nd, as it says here. Actually, it might have been, no, I think it was actually earlier. It might have been April 15th. I have to look at the dates on the emails, but maybe it was April 22nd. It's just a couple of days before one of the treasurers and the logistics coordinator resigned also. Bruce called me one night to say, hey, you know, he said that he's making this personal deal with Stuart Rhodes that he's going to sell to them the website and my early warning system project and his co-op thing and all that. He's going to get himself $15,000, and you know, and he's going to have other Oath Keepers develop it. And I say, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. You know, the deal was that you were going to put me in touch with National so I could explain my projects to them. And he got kind of angry at me and says, you know, well, Stuart Rhodes told me to make this happen. I proposed it. And I'm like, dude, yeah, you think that's a good thing, but so I told him, you know.
Now it says at the end of item 6 there, it says he stated he would be keeping the cash. Now,
yes.
Did he tell you that, hey, I'm selling your stuff and I'm keeping the money for that?
Yeah, he actually confirmed that in writing in an email on the 15th also, is that he says it's a commercial deal. I don't know if you see that email on the website. I haven't looked in detail to see if it's there, but I could read you that email if you want, or that part of it. But yes, he confirmed that in an email that he's making this deal, he's getting paid, and he's going to have other Oath Keepers develop it as an open source project, meaning they're going to do the work for free because they're great patriots and all that, and then he's going to keep the money for himself because, by golly, he has a lot of expenses for all these other things he does. You know, he owns a lot of domain names and does other things. So
let me interject here just for a second, Beacon.
Yes.
Okay, so tonight is your introduction to the story.
Yes.
All the things that are happening, true, false, this, that, up, down, whatever, we're going to cover those over a period of time.
Okay.
But what you need to know is we're going to be introducing the documentation that Beacon has and maybe other people have, emails and etc. You're not going to see all of it tonight because it's not going to be a 5-hour show. We will document as much of this as we can. Oh, sorry, Mike. We're going to document as much of this as we can. This is your introduction to the story tonight, and you can decide by staring at Beacon intensely or by staring at that document even more intensely what the truth is in the first blush response that you have.
Yeah. So, you know, So yeah, we're sort of breezing through this pretty quickly, and there's sort of an escalating situation here, and I think that this phone call, which he confirmed in this email, I'll read verbatim. Um, this would be a commercial endeavor, and I should be paid for my efforts, since I spend a huge amount of time working on Oathkeeper projects, and that there is a huge stake involved in keeping systems secure. That's going to come up too. Stuart did ask me to make the template-driven hosting happen, and it was on a national call shortly after the start of the Sugar Pine mine operation, to which I was not invited, nor did I even hear about it till this. I also have other Oathkeepers across the nation who have major web and system development skills who will donate their efforts to make this happen. So the monies will be for the hosting and security, and which will cover my costs. My costs, his, of course. So he's basically keeping the money. So that's in his email. So I was kind of alarmed, because essentially he was taking these projects that I had proposed, and actually I was developing already, and that I had said, put me in touch with National, and I will, make these propositions so that we will be able to get these jobs done. And so here he's confirming that he proposed them, and he intends to keep all the money. It's even in his email, and I was rather shocked at that. What do you call it when somebody takes intellectual property and work that was done by someone else and goes and sells it off to someone else? There's got to be a word for that.
Oh,
Anyway.
theft is one word. If it's true, yes, that's true. If it's true, yes.
Plagiarism, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and this wouldn't be the first time. Remember, there was the It's the Climate website, but also copies of the Oathkeepers website. The initial one I had built started popping up in other places, and I have some emails about that too. There was one at give me a second to remember the name, ke7yle.com, which is Bruce's ham radio call sign. He put one copy of the Oathkeepers website there. There was another one at solarandsecuritytint.com, which is a commercial website belonging to another guy. So essentially he was taking copies of his website off his own server, this secure server where nobody can get at the stuff. So he was taking copies of the work and then using it for outside purposes. And there's another one at citingscentral.com. Sightings Central. It's about Bigfoot. So essentially taking it and then changing the couple of the graphics and stuff, to make it his own and put his own copyright on it. But I have a licensed menu system that I use in my work, and that's in there among other things. And of course, it's taking the work off his own secure server, and now it's appearing in other places. So I was rather bothered by this. I mean, if I were to host a website on Google, right, and then all of a sudden copies of it started appearing in other places, and then I found out that the owner of Google was actually the one taking copies and using them for other websites and other commercial projects, I'd say, is that secure? Come on.
Right, and just to give current relevance to this is like when Taylor Swift complained to Apple that they're stealing her music and are going to give it away for nothing, give her nothing for it. You worked on this particular project, and you don't recognize someone else's right to be compensated for that work that you did. Is that the gist of what you're saying?
That's the gist of it. And and even if they don't take money for making these copies, it is still a benefit to them to do so, because all of a sudden, hey, there's a free pre-made website. It saves me a lot of work. Wow, I'll just grab that and stick it up here. And it's theclimate.com, that's kind of a permanent domain name. I was a little bit bothered by that.
Another analogy to use is, let's suppose Taylor Sausages said, hey, we want to help you guys out, and so we're going to donate a whole bunch of, as many sausages as you need to feed your own people. And what Viken seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, alleging is that one of the members said, hey, I'll get as many sausages as I can, I'll open up a sausage stand somewhere in Grants Pass and pocket the profits from these donated sausages.
Pretty good analogy. Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy right there. So, there's this history that's building up. And that phone call that night was extremely alarming to me, because, here we are in the middle of this operation, and this is going on the side, when we're supposed to be dealing with the operational stuff, but it turns out there's this weird business wheeling and dealing going on the side, and it's my stuff is getting sold off to other people. And I'm thinking this is really inappropriate. And by the way, this is also a breach of server security. And by the way, something else was happening. Let's go through the affidavit here. Number 7, I informed Bruce this is unacceptable. He has no authority or permission to take my stuff and sell it off as his own personal business deals. No, this is, you guys seem to understand that this is not quite right. So, he got, and I told him, you and I can't just be discussing this. We need to have Joseph Rice in this conversation. And he was infuriated and screamed at me, "That's it, you're out!" It's like, whoa, this was shocking to hear this coming from the guy. And I thought he was kicking me out of the Oath Keepers leadership. It was pretty serious. When I went back to staging the next day, though, he's like smiles, pretending nothing had happened. I thought something's weird. So I explained the problem to Joseph Rice. And Joseph, says, "Oh, don't worry about it. Nobody's kicking you out. Only I can do that." So, okay. Now I also tried to explain to Joseph Rice the actual problem. I also explained it to one other person, a woman who is a co-signer on the patent who is already invested in this project. She needed to know that her investment was being threatened, and she didn't believe me. "Oh no, he's because we were all friends. Bruce is our buddy. I gave him the combo to my safe, which has been changed. And she was good buddy with him too. We were all good buddies. Like, oh, this could never happen." So that Thursday, there's a Oath Keepers meeting at the fairgrounds, and she sat down next to him, and so she finally asked him. And yeah, he says he was, selling off the stuff to National and making himself getting himself a deal. But she can tell you how that conversation went. But she got confirmation. What else came?
Wait a second. Okay, so
she got confirmation. Yes.
Who confirmed to who?
So Bruce confirms to her. Because she asked him point blank, because she didn't believe me. She didn't believe this was even possible, that it was happening. So she asked him. She sat down next to him and she asked him. And then he confirmed it to her. She says, "Yes, I am doing this."
Do you want to say who that was?
I need to ask her if she's willing to get on the show, because...
Quite appropriate.
Yeah, it's important that she be willing to speak up. So if she wants to have her say or write an affidavit, that's up to her.
Or the other side too, the invitation is open, because how are you going to know? I don't know. We're not going to know who's right or who's wrong about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to give an opportunity to everybody.
Yes. So, I'm going to skip number 9 because I think I've covered the details there. Except it gets interesting. Joseph Rice kept insisting that Bruce was not making money on it. Bruce said that he is. Two different stories there. But these different stories got even better as it went. Let me see, number 10. So I'm going to segue to a different part of my concerns. Okay, that was the first part. Obviously, there were security concerns with what was on the server. It was being taken for outside use, outside of the Oath Keepers. Unapproved by me, of course. So there's a security concern right there. But another one came up too. While I was at the staging area, people started running around more than once in a panic. Somebody was hacking our website, they said. Someone's hacking our website. While I was there, I noticed something too. Somebody was intercepting our communications. And I made sure to not use the same internet connection as everyone else. I brought my own, which was a mobile phone, and I noticed it doing something that it never did otherwise, which was once it got connected to the internet, in about 2 seconds it would drop and then reconnect using a different IP address. Somebody had a man in the middle cell phone relay tower. So there was obviously interception of our traffic. Okay, here we are in the middle of a secure operation. And let me ask, would it be a security problem if someone could get full access to the server, install their own software, put malware inside the website? Would that be a security problem in the middle of a secure operation?
I would think so. Yeah.
So this is urgent. This is an urgent problem because people are running around in a panic that someone was hacking our stuff. Now,
do you have any theories about who that might have been?
Boy, there are a lot of guesses, but I cannot show any evidence.
Any number of possibilities there I could see.
Yeah, any number. Clearly somebody was interested. Yeah, and I intentionally didn't use the same internet connection as everyone else because I wanted to see if it was just that one connection that was being tapped. Clearly, it wasn't. It was through the cell communications and other stuff.
I
So
want, I
cell
want to
phones.
make it clear. I want to make it clear that any time, and this is to Viken also, that someone's going to make a supposition, we
Mhm,
label it as such. He's going to tell you what he's seen with his own eyes,
mhm.
and then clearly say, Viken, anytime he makes a guess at something, and so it's okay to make a guess, just as long as you make sure that people know that that's a guess. Okay?
So wild ass crazy yes. Somebody was interested in the data going back and forth and in getting into the website
Yeah,
because that's a key
go
point
figure.
of inflicting harm. Yeah. So if somebody could get in there, they could put malware into the site, hide it in there, so that other people coming to check on the status of the operation and all that, their computers could be infected, their keystrokes could be logged, their passwords compromised, everything they did could be compromised. Serious urgency right here. So I, being a web
Yes.
and server professional, I know something about security, and I had been explaining to Bruce, who's actually running these servers for about the last year and a half, that they're not secure. We were using plain FTP to work with the web systems, which sends our username and password in plain text. Anybody sniffing packets could just read that, log in, and start doing stuff with the server. This is bad. Normally,
Right.
when we set up a web server, a Linux server, we turn off the FTP thing right away. This is standard operating procedure. So I raised this issue to Joseph Rice. I said, look, we have a serious security problem here. Somebody's been hacking our stuff. This is how it's being done. I mean, it's really easy to do it this way. And Joseph came back and he's like, oh, you're attacking Bruce. You're saying things. No. I told him, dude, this is real. So I had a PCI scan run. Now, if anyone out there is a web professional or a server administrator, you know what a PCI scan is. This is how we assure our clients that the server we're running their stuff on is secure, so it can handle credit card data or secure communications, that sort of thing. A PCI scan is
Right.
the way to do it. So I produce a PCI scan, and it's Joseph, and look, right there at the top, FTP, major security problem. And strangely, in the following days, Joseph kept sending out these emails saying, oh, Vic is falsely accusing Bruce. He's provided no evidence for his claims. Dude, I gave you the security report. I didn't spread it around to the other
And,
leadership team.
apparently, there's
It's
a
on
copy of this report on the website.
Right. So I saw that. And by the way, it's not giving out anything to unauthorized persons, that report.
Did the
that's on the
security
website.
report say who was doing this? Did it identify?
No. Well, it showed who was providing the PCI scan that checks the server for all the vulnerabilities. That it showed that it's a professional company that does that we use when we're setting up credit card processing or something. We have an outside company run a PCI scan, and then they provide a report that we can then send to our clients or whatever to say, all right, this is what we've done to secure your server. Here's the proof that it's secured, and this is the normal way we document server security, so that they're not just taking our word for it. It's like, hey, your server's secure, you can trust me. No, we provide them a documented PCI scan, so they know it.
So what you were able to prove with this, according to you, and we'll see the documents in another show, is, and we will show them to you, okay? You can relax, is that there was at that time, you were right, a security problem. You just don't know what was the originator, right?
Well, right, so I don't know who was trying to intercept the communications, but the scan proved that they could get easy access to the servers and mess with them. This is a huge vulnerability, sending the usernames and passwords in plain text so that they could log in and do whatever they want. Normally, when we're working with these servers, we use a secured connection and an SSH connection, which encrypts everything. It's a lot harder to crack. The plain text,
Now,
the 12-year-old kid intercepting those packets could then log in. He doesn't have to decrypt anything to get in. So it's a major problem. Now, the fact that this scan
right,
is...
and just to be fair, you're not accusing anybody of any nefarious behavior, just ignorance of not properly setting this up, and you're trying to inform them of a security issue. Is this what I'm getting?
That is correct. And it was so serious that people were running around in a panic that our stuff was getting hacked. And I had built the website so that it couldn't be hacked. It was very secure, but the server was the problem. So I was simply providing the evidence to say, look, guys, yes, we are vulnerable. You need to see this right away so we can deal with it.
And so to redefine who the characters are here again, you were the person that developed this and then tried to alert Oath Keepers, local Oath Keepers, that there was a security problem, and the person in charge of security, Bruce McFarland,
The server security.
number two in the local Oath Keepers, was saying, no, that's not true, and Joseph Rice was backing him instead of you. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. And even though I provided the written documentation proving my point, and Joseph Rice had it in his hands. So I was alarmed that he was attacking me and basically claiming that what I said was false. He had the report. Now, just so you know, this report's on that website. I saw it there, and that does not in any way expose security risks that an outside party would not be able to find anyway, because someone who's trying to hack a server will run that same kind of scan on the server and say, oh, look, I can see these same things. Mm-hmm. The reason we have this professional company run the PCI scan is so that we can prove in the same way that we can run the same sort of scans that a hacker would, and at least show that we have made the reasonable steps to prevent the hackers, who will do the same thing, from getting in. So they would run into the same obstacles that the PCI scan would if the server was secured. So it's just a confirmation of security. That's why we do that. So the fact that it's on that website does not expose anything that is not easily found out anyway. So I'm not giving away any secret information there. So let's move through the affidavit. Boy, we're almost halfway through it, huh? Let's see. So yeah, there were several instances in which personnel were alarmed at apparent hacking of our electronic devices and interception of our digital communications, phone and computer. Yeah, that was a serious problem, and it was immediate. I mean, the people we were trying to protect, the security guys there, we were all vulnerable. We were all exposed to this immediate risk. That's a problem, and they were quite alarmed about it. Well, by the way, sometime later that FTP thing was turned off, but later scans show that there still are some serious vulnerabilities. And I could still run a scan today and tell you what they are, but I'm not going to bother. And any hacker can find out what they are himself. So the item 11, yes, I became aware that copies of the Oath Keepers website were appearing in other locations. Specifically 3 websites that were under Bruce McFarland's direct control. He had other web domain names, and he was taking these copies. And as I said, citingscentral.com is still live, because I didn't mention to Bruce that I'd found that one too. So last I checked, it was still live. We'll see how long that lasts. And Bruce sent me back emails saying, oh, so sorry, and he took them down. So I have the emails in which he acknowledged that he had made these copies, he apologizes, and of course those websites were taken down. So if you guys want to see that confirmation, I'm not making any false accusations here. Bruce himself confirmed that he had made those copies. And so if there's any question, I'll show you those emails. So hacking of the PayPal account. So the other thing happened at staging. People were freaking out that the PayPal accounts, there were 2 PayPal accounts. One was to collect money for the miners' legal defense, and the other is for the Oath Keepers chapter. And people were running around in a panic because a strange woman's name was appearing on the PayPal receipts. Who is this woman? People kept saying. Well, there was a whole thing that went on there with apparent theft of cash. And it's still unclear as to who gave, to me, I should say, as to who gave this woman access to the PayPal account. But apparently a whole lot of money disappeared, and this is hearsay on my part because I didn't personally look at the accounts. I wasn't allowed to. The treasurer's affidavits indicate that even they weren't allowed to look at the accounts. Whoever was controlling those accounts, had set them up in a way that someone was able to make money disappear.
Now, hold on a second. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, honestly, some of this for a number of our viewers is going to be a little dry, but it's leading up to a point here. Now we're talking about potential hacking of PayPal accounts. Now we're talking about money. And what you just told us was that the treasurer wasn't allowed to do what?
Was not allowed to look at the bank account or the PayPal account. Two treasurers in a row, actually. There's two affidavits, one from the first treasurer, and then who resigned because she wasn't allowed to access the accounts, and then from the second treasurer, who was also not allowed to access the accounts. Who did? Well, Bruce McFarland controlled the accounts. He's the one who gave me the PayPal buttons to put on the website, so he obviously had access to the accounts. So, the treasurers weren't allowed to look. So those, but you'll look at their affidavits and get more details from them.
What was this woman's name that was on there that you didn't recognize?
Boy, I don't have that handy. I did see one of the PayPal receipts, and I think it was from mid-April roughly. I'd have to do some digging through the email to find that first name. Then I think there were two. This is a vague recollection. I think there were two different problems with two different women's names appearing on two different PayPal accounts. So the first one for sure, there was a woman's name on this PayPal receipt, and I think in one of the later shows we'll have that email for you guys because it was interesting. And if you were to look at the Oath Keepers Joco website, you're going to see a name on there. You're going to see a fake wanted poster, actually, top right corner. Oathkeepersjoco.com, look in the top right corner, and there's what looks like a wanted poster, right? But that's not a law enforcement wanted poster. There's no law enforcement contact information. There's no phone number to call, when you catch the guy to say, hey, police, we have this guy who's wanted. There's no reward information. It's one of those things you can make up. There's free wanted poster makers on the web. You can go, hey, make a fake wanted poster. But the key point is the guy on that poster, I believe, is one of the parties who was accused of taking that money. Mm-hmm. So this is why they're after him. And essentially it's putting a target on this guy. But it's not a law enforcement issue, apparently. It's trying to get other people to go after him.
Now, hold on. Mm-hmm. Is this fall into the supposition range, Beacon?
Well, if you look at the poster, you will see that there is no law enforcement contact information. I mean,
right.
if you,
motives.
If you have a couple of armed guys who grab this dude, okay, we've got you. What do we do with you? Who do we call? Okay, what are they going to do, right? I don't know. What are they going to do if they go after this guy and grab him? All right, he's wanted. Well, maybe we'll call Oath Keepers and because they're the law now. Yeah, that's it. They're the ones who put out this poster, so they're the law. Okay, let's call Oath Keepers. That's effectively what that poster does, doesn't it? Because there's certainly no police contact or FBI contact information on there. So let's say somebody were to grab that guy, and then they would call Oath Keepers. Then what? I don't know. And it's a pretty strange situation. That's not law enforcement right there. That's something else.
Now, before you'd gone off into the wanted poster, you were talking about the two treasurers who were not granted access to funds coming in to the Josephine County chapter of Oath Keepers.
That's correct.
Go over that one more time, and then maybe we can move on to the next point. We're trying to let you. We're both trying to let you say whatever you want to say.
Good
but
golly.
This is fairly serious when it comes to money.
So I'm not making up any stories. You can look at the legally notarized affidavits on that website. I did, and they are from the treasurers, both of whom explained that they were not allowed to access the accounts. And you'll also see on the website text from the Oath Keepers national website, which is their official policies, which explain the duties and role of the treasurer, which really does involve controlling the accounts. It's accountability. It's so that there is a person who is legally responsible, that's the title of treasurer, and that person will therefore have accountability and control to make sure that every penny coming in and every penny going out is accounted for. That's the treasurer's role. I mean, if anyone's who worked in a corporate or nonprofit organization would know this, I suppose.
So if you don't know, or if the treasurers were not allowed to do that, who do you know for a fact who it was that was preventing them from doing it, and do you know for a fact who it was that had control of those accounts?
I can give you one. The affidavits state that Bruce McFarland and Joseph Rice were handling the money, and Bruce McFarland is the one who gave me the PayPal buttons to put on the website, so he apparently had access. From my perspective, he's the one who he gave me the PayPal buttons. He gave me, which he could create through the PayPal account. So,
right, and they're encoded
yeah.
with who gets the payment from, when somebody pushes the button.
Right. So, the best of my knowledge, it was Bruce, who had control of the accounts, and that seems to be confirmed by the 2 affidavits from the treasurers. So it's an interesting read. It's not my story, except that little bit about the buttons. I know that part. Their affidavits tell more of their story.
Okay.
So anyway, let's keep plugging through. Because I'm sure their affidavits are a good read, but that's their situation. Oh, let's see. So, I talked with Joseph Rice about these problems. I tried to get them addressed. There was not only the taking of my stuff, to propose to National for someone else's business purposes, which I was highly alarmed at, but there's also the security problem, which is obviously immediate and a crisis, because this whole security of the operation, the communications going in and out depended on our securing those communications. And all the people coming to the Oath Keepers Joco site, their computers would be compromised if someone put malicious code on there that would get onto their computers and do things like, key logging or whatever. This is an immediate need to secure that.
Yeah, and that's huge. If someone's logging your keys, just for the layman, every keystroke you make, somebody's seeing that, and
Yes.
that could be a huge security issue for you personally.
Yeah. Now, by the way, my business logo is still on the Oath Keepers Joco site, and I wish they'd take it off there because, I have not been the webmaster for a long time. The reason I bring that up is the guy whose face is on that wanted poster, he comes at me through Facebook and says, "Dude, why are you putting this fake wanted poster on there? You got to take that off there." And I said, "Wait, no, dude, I'm not even the webmaster. I was not the webmaster. That was put up after I resigned, after I was no longer webmaster. Somebody else did that, not me." So to that gentleman who's out there, if you happen to be watching this show, small chance, it ain't me. So don't come after me about that. And anyone else who doesn't, who has questions or concerns about what's on that site, it ain't me. So as far as whoever's managing that site right now, go ahead and take my logo off, please. All right, moving right along. So, I talked with Joseph Rice about this, and I'd actually spoken with Joseph about these concerns long before the Sugar Pine operation. He and I have appeared on the local radio show, the Constitution Study thing that John Chambers puts on, and he and I have been on that show together. And then after one of those shows, I had a talk with Joseph, and I explained these concerns, the security concerns, the taking of assets and things like that, because there was a bit of a history, and it wasn't addressed then either. So there was plenty of time to address it before the Sugar Pine operation, and it only became a crisis during the Sugar Pine operation because, wow, a crisis. You never want to let a crisis go to waste. I think there's a quote on the website about that, where when all of a sudden everyone's got to focus on this emergency, oh, we don't have time to deal with all this other stuff that's going on. No, we have to focus on the emergency. Nothing but the emergency matters. Barack Obama does that all the time, right? So, oh no, we have this crisis. We have the housing market crash. So don't look at what the other hand is doing. So that became the problem during the security operation. That I saw also. And by the way, there was plenty of time to deal with it. I will assert there was plenty of opportunity. Because Bruce had all this time to go and do all these deals and stuff. We surely could have had a 10-minute conversation about this situation. So I had asked Joseph in writing, let's figure this out. I want to keep this small and quiet. You, Joseph, Bruce McFarland, me, Stuart Rhodes, who Bruce said he was making the deals with, and the woman whose name is also on the patent. Let's just, the group of us, get together and have a conversation so we can find out what is even true. Because I don't even know if Bruce was telling me the truth about having that conversation with Rhodes. I just want to know what the truth is, and get it from Rhodes because he's the only guy who can actually confirm it. Because Bruce had told me that Joseph didn't know. He was like, when I tried to get, I told him that Joseph needed to be in the conversation. He says, that's not going to happen. So anyway, I tried to keep it small and quiet and keep other people uninvolved. Unfortunately, in the email chain, Bruce had then broadcasted it to a really large group of people, the whole leadership team. And that kind of exposed the problem to a whole lot of people, which I had tried to prevent from happening. And that got everybody talking. Apparently it got media attention. It got all kinds of attention, which, I was trying to keep it small and quiet so that, we could just solve the problem. And that was blown.
So wait a minute. Obviously, at some point, some conflict began between you and the rest of leadership at Oath Keepers about this security issue. And why would they have a problem with you as it relates to this security issue? Aren't you doing them a favor by pointing this out? Where's the rub here? Where's the part where you're doing something to harm them and they're mad at you about it?
Here's the rub. Joseph Rice, in his emails to the leadership team, said that I was lying, that I had produced no documentation to back my claims, and therefore was smearing Bruce. I'll happily, I don't know if those emails are on the website, I'll go look, but I'll share those since Joseph gave us permission to share the emails with media. And that's where the problem came up. He accused me of lying about it. He accused me of attacking Bruce. And I was stunned by that. I mean, yeah, I would have thought thanks would be appropriate, not retaliation. Hello? So there was, I honestly don't know why he did that, but he was clearly saying something to them that was not factual in order to shield Bruce from scrutiny, for whatever reason. I had some theories about it. You see, on the 15th, Joseph sent me this email saying, the 16th of May 16th. Bruce has resigned over this. Bruce has resigned from Oath Keepers. He has nothing to do with Oath Keepers now. Look what you've done, Vic. And now we don't have, we're losing our server hosting and all this stuff. And by the way, Bruce also owns the oathkeepersjoco.com domain name, so Bruce is in full control. So I thought, well, maybe that was what Joseph was afraid of. That, and Bruce's immediate response was to resign and, okay, I'm out of here, and that would be something to be afraid of, because Bruce could do significant damage to the chapter by pulling his support and killing our services. And if that was his response to simply trying to have an honest conversation to get to the truth of this matter, if that's how he was responding, well, that's rather extreme. He was trying to do damage to the chapter. Well, I was trying to solve the problems. This was the conversation we got into.
Okay.
The argument.
So then, was that true?
Apparently not, because he sent it to me 2 days in a row, the 16th and the 17th, but the treasurer never heard about it. Bruce was still coming in and handing in receipts and getting money, and apparently the other leadership people weren't told that he had resigned. So, that's what they're telling me anyway. That's what. So
why would they? Why, if you can speculate about this, why would they send you that and have you believe that Bruce had resigned over this? How does that benefit them for you to believe that?
Pure speculation. Who's the lawyer going to go after? Oath Keepers or Bruce McFarland individually? Because clearly, if the concern was that he was taking our stuff, our patented software, and they could make the case that he had nothing to do with Oath Keepers, it was a side thing, well, then they would shield the Oath Keepers National from the consequences. That's a rough guess. What else? Maybe it was just a way to make it look like I was doing damage because I had made him resign. Oh, horrible, Vic, look what you made Bruce do. I don't control him. Bruce could be a loyal patriot and say, "Oh wow, I'll sit down and have a discussion."
So did the conflict about this software? So did the conflict about this software that you were writing and the website security, did these all happen at the same time or something here? Because I thought right now we're talking about the security situation.
Right, and they were pretty close to the same time. My initial, I first brought up the fact that, to Joseph, I actually have to go back and look at the emails to figure out which one came up first. But it was very close in timing, because I became, I was spending a lot more time at the staging area and discovering the problems there. And And it was the day after Bruce had called me about, him making that deal with National that, I was at staging, and then someone else wandered by and says, hey, we're making these deals with Bruce about the website, and then all of a sudden more and more information came in, and I became concerned, and I went to Joseph and said, look, we have to deal with this.
To put
This
this a
is,
little bit into perspective, look, anything like this is going to exist in three different places. One is if the media comes to you and puts a camera in your face and you're talking to national or local media, that's one view that people have of you.
yes.
Another view that people have of you is what appears on your website. Well, that's not important. Well, it is important because more people are going to see your website and your Facebook presence than are going to watch a local TV station like KOBI.
Okay, speaking of what was on the website, the big concern was, as expressed to me by one of the security leaders at the mine himself, that nude pictures were appearing on the website, and so this was what freaked him out. He actually told me this a couple days ago too. He repeated that this was the security problem. Unauthorized pictures were appearing on the website, and I confirmed while I was there that someone had a man-in-the-middle system going that was intercepting the data going in and out of the website, because one of the images for sure was broken, and I had taken a second computer there just to confirm this, that it wasn't something that was cached on my own computer, and it also showed that picture was broken. It was something on the community page where we were fixing the horse stalls, painting the horse stalls and stuff, and the image that they had on their man-in-the-middle server was glitched. So I said, yeah, somebody's really intercepting and messing with stuff here. But porn? Uh-oh, that could be very damaging to Oathkeeper's reputation. This needs to get fixed now. So, it was an immediate concern.
Were you able to ever confirm that this fellow, this nameless fellow at the moment, really did see porn? Did you see any porn? Did anybody else?
So he told me that. I did not see porn myself, but I saw that images were substituted. It wasn't porn, but I saw other things in there. Yes, and I can confirm that. And my other computer might even still have some of those cached. I'll have to check it out. It's another laptop. So I didn't see porn. He says he saw porn. We could ask around, see if anyone else saw porn. So
again, it's important to point out that the public face of any group today, especially on a national basis, is going to be based on their presence on either social media or the internet. And so if you've got someone coming in there with bogus images, porn images, donate here buttons that are false or whatever, that's a serious problem. In addition to the security things, there's a serious problem in that this is not the image that you wish to portray, and so you're going to want to be sure that these things are right. Because you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, this is some kind of internet nerd guy, and what's the problem? Listen, the right person in the right position is just as important as the spokesperson, especially if things are going wrong.
That's right. And, I was extremely concerned, of course, that people were going to come after me, the web developer, over this when, it wasn't the web system, it was the server that had the vulnerabilities, and that needed to be addressed. And as you say, what if people visiting that website were suddenly getting keyloggers and other stuff on their computers, malware from the website? Anything could have happened. This would have really done some damage to Oathkeepers as a whole. I mean, anything could happen. So we needed to seal up that security risk. And as a loyal Oathkeeper, it was my duty to try to get this resolved immediately. And I was attacked for it. That was horrifying to me. I was made into the bad guy for trying to get this fixed.
Well, I don't want to be made into the bad guy here, but we've pretty much run out of time for this episode of As the World Turns. So, Mike, I'm going to need to ask you if you've got any final statements to make, and then obviously we're going to need to have Vika and other people on from both sides of this to say, oh, that's all wrong, they're full of beans, or whatever.
Right, and I think we can go into greater detail about this later. However, if you can sum up in a very short period of time here, what's going on here. As I see it, you informed them. First of all, you took Bruce to task over, the theft of property and the impropriety of all that situation, and
Right.
then
Which, by the
you
way, he confirmed in his own email that he had made this deal, and Joseph Rice also confirms that that presentation was made to National without me being present or even knowing about it, actually. So this was
Right.
confirmed by them in writing. So yeah.
Okay, and then after that, you also made them aware of this security situation, which should have been, in your estimation, met with praise and joy for having discovered the issue, and yet you were attacked for it. And then there was going to be retaliation against you, I'm assuming, because
Yes.
now you had Joseph had said to you that Bruce has resigned over this, but then came the retaliation against you, which they were going to put you on trial for what?
For saying bad things about Bruce. Come
Okay,
on.
all right, we're going to need to. Sorry,
So,
gentlemen, we're going to
next
need to
story.
cover that
Yes.
trial. We'll cover the trial from start to beginning. Start to beginning. Yeah, we're going to cover that next time.
Yeah.
But one more thing I want to be sure that we put in here is that you have alleged that there were some financial irregularities in the Josephine County chapter of
the treasurers.
Oath
The treasurers were concerned about not being allowed to access the accounts, and there was a big issue with money disappearing from the miners' legal defense early on, and there was quite a kerfuffle going on there. But it was more the treasurers, and also the miners themselves were aware of this, of the money disappearing. So that was a whole nother issue.
Mike and I want to be sure that Mike will confirm this, that we're putting out an open invitation to everybody that can confirm or deny or bring up other details or say this guy's full of stuff or whatever, so that because we don't know. Do you know? We don't know everything about everything at this moment. We're bringing you the story. We're identifying what the pluses and minuses are. We're telling you and encouraging our guests to clearly identify what is speculation on their point. We have affidavits that are online. Mike is going to tell you again how to go to that website on your own so you can go and read all this, because the last time that I talked with Mary Emmerich, she was talking with Joseph Rice. She's their public information officer, and he was looking through the website at that moment. So we want you to get a chance to go take a look at that. Who's right, who's wrong? Most of this is going to be determined not necessarily in a court of law, but in the court of public opinion. Mike, can you tell them the name of that website again, please, bud?
It's not the Principled Patriot. It is principledpatriot.com. Now, it's important to understand.
There it is.
Viken's part of this is a very small part of this thing here. There is much more on this website. It could keep you busy for a very long time. But we were just trying to get the gist of what happened with Viken and his experiences, and he touches on parts of what was going on with these other situations. But you can also read the affidavits by the treasurers who resigned, and there are a number of other documents that are on there, and then several other pages on there go into other stuff about Joseph Rice and his past dealings and things of that nature. But this tonight was only about Viken's little part of this. It's a very small part of it, and essentially there was a conflict between him and Oath Keepers about his dismissal from there and about the treatment within. It has nothing to do with the financial allegations. Is that true, Viken?
Right. My part was not financial. I had other issues to deal with. So. There were other people who had dealt with the financial side of things, and that's their story.
Well, what we want to be sure that Viken knows is, Viken, you were invited to come back tomorrow night and talk about the trial that took place. And we want to be sure, again, that everybody knows we don't know who's right or wrong about this. And we're inviting the people who do know, not the speculators, because we're the speculators and we don't know, but we want to invite the people who know what's going on to come and tell their own story. He was the first person to step forward. We made the offer to everybody that we know that was involved. He's the first one, and now we need the second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh generation of this. That's okay, and we're going to give you time to tell your story, and you're all going to need to make up your own mind about this. If it does not fit, you must convict. No, what is that?
The good news is, I'm pretty serious about keeping emails and chains of evidence. So anything I put in my affidavit or whatever, I have all the substantiation to go with it. And you can look online and see some of those, even the security scan, which I was told did not exist. Yeah, it does. So the information is there, evidence and whatever. So if anybody wants to understand, I'll show them. Joseph Rice actually gave approval to present the emails to media. I sent you guys a copy of that email. So, here we go. You guys can look at it all.